Anytime you beg another man to set you free, you'll never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourself.
Okay, so I'm going to start off this video by doing something I don't normally do in these videos, which is asking people to share this. I mean...
If you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me.
Please share this, because I think I have an important message to share with people in this. Keir Starmer today, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, I saw the news this morning when I woke up, announced that they're going to be making digital ID mandatory.
Today, I am announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
So, I mean, they're going for it. They're going all the way. And I don't think a lot of people, I think a lot of people really do recognize the significance of what they're trying to do here. But a lot of people, it's going to go over their heads. And I think there's an element to this where they want people to react in a seditious manner. And that's also a trap, where they want people to react to this in a way that it makes them an enemy of the state. But really, we have to look here. I mean, government derives its authority from the people they govern. So do they have the authority of the people to do this? Do you really think that? I don't think they do. I think the vast majority of people recognize this as a threat to their life and their liberty that they will never recover from. I think that's really what's on the line here, is that they're going to take away all of your freedom of choice and completely paralyze your ability to exercise your own free will. This isn't going to end well if people don't resist this. And I'm not saying that people should try to overthrow the government, because I think they're genuinely trying to get people to do that. I think they really want you to react that way, and you need to pause for a moment and calm yourself and think a little further that that's probably something that they want. That they're doing this in such an outrageously grotesque way where they're just going to try to force it on you whether you like it or not. They're trying to provoke a reaction here as well. And it's very much not in our advantage, it's not to our advantage, to react in a reflexive manner that they're anticipating and trying to provoke. So I'd like to just put that right out there right from the very beginning. Government derives its authority from the people who consent to having that authority wielded over them. But they also have been enslaving us for 100 or 50 years, depending on where you live. I mean, you find out where your government gets its money from. A lot of people just think that they're printing the money. That's a very common misconception. That's not how our world works. They give private banks the ability to print that money from nothing. They don't even print it. They really just create it on a computer screen. And they're not creating money. They're creating debt. It's the issuance of debt. We've been enslaved for 100 years through the issuance of debt, where they create the debt from nothing, give it to the government, and then we have to work the debt back, plus all the interest. But the debt just keeps growing exponentially, and you never pay off the debt. You just continually pay more interest on it, to the point where now you're a slave for several months of the year just to pay off interest that they've created from nothing.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Matrix.
Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
So really, the government has only been able to get away with that by psyoping people into consenting, where you consent to a system where you're enslaved. And every few years, the election happens and people consent. They go out there and they vote. No matter who they vote for, the person that they vote for is going to continue to enslave them to debt created from nothing. And really, we just have to start out right there, because this is going to get so much worse than that. These people already have a system where we're pretty much their perfect slaves. They create money from nothing. We work off the debt that they issue it through. And then, well, that's just how the world works. Now, there's a policy document that I wanted to bring up in this video. There's actually a couple things that are kind of, they seem unrelated, but they're deeply related if you really think about it. One of them is this document that was supposedly found in like an IBM fax machine or a printer or a copier or something like that, called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Now, there's a lot of debate whether or not that document is authentic, but there's certain ideas in this document which, whether it's authentic or not, are relevant. Because one of the ideas in this document is that the economy is controlled very similarly to electrical circuitry. So it uses the analogy of electrical circuitry to map how currency flows in an economy. And in this, you can kind of calculate, as if it was voltage, how currency flows through an electrical circuit board. Now, imposing digital ID really changes the landscape of that economic system if you're looking at it through that perspective. Imposing digital ID allows them to create hard-coded certainty onto variables that were typically uncertain, which is human behavior. Now, there's a website I'm going to put on screen here, c40.org. This is the future that they're going to paint for us if we allow and accept digital ID issued through our government.
Looked into the C40 websites. The C40 is the consortium of municipalities that have signed on to the 15-minute city plan. And I read in their own documentation, this is relevant to the tri-state city idea, that their goals are to reduce caloric consumption to 2,500 calories a day by force, essentially, within the next 15 years, to ensure that the peasant class, which is everybody but the elitists, can't fly more than one time every 3 years, to not merely shift private car ownership from fossil fuel to electric, which is fundamentally impossible because the grid can't handle it, but to eliminate 90% of private car ownership so that people are forced to take, unbelievably expensive in terms of time utilization and non-existent public transportation systems, and to limit the amount of travel that people can do outside of their neighborhoods. And, and then I watch the legacy media claim that pointing that out is something akin to a right-wing conspiracy, which it most certainly isn't, because you can just find the bloody documentation online. And then I look at places like China, which have taken this to an extreme. 600 million closed-circuit TV cameras in China. 1 for every 1.5 persons watching the Chinese all the time, able to monitor them 100% by face, and also to identify them by gait, and to limit their ability to do absolutely anything, to buy, to sell, to travel, to move, to leave their neighborhood, with this top-down surveillance system that perversely and consciously some of the Chinese engineers have actually named Skynet. And in a conscious attempt to produce a positive version of, the absolutely catastrophic, apocalyptic artificial intelligence that was in the bloody Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. And you can't even talk about this stuff without sounding like a raving conspiratorialist, but there it is. Now,
I'm going to put a caveat here. There's I mean, I just say it straight up. Digital ID will either set us free or enslave us for eternity. And I have to stress, what Keir Starmer was saying today is, submit to an eternity of slavery from which you and your grandchildren will never recover. That's what's going to happen. That's the significance of what will happen. Because, I mean, just look at these C40, look at the C40 website. They're going to tell you you can't eat meat. They're going to tell you you're not allowed. And they'll make that happen just by, it won't be available in your grocery store. You know why? Because they'll turn off the digital ID of the people who produce meat and send it to your grocery store, and they'll just comply. Because you know what? Once they've got that level of hook, once they've got a hook in you that deep, you're trapped forever. There will be no coming back. But again, how we choose to react to this is very important. Because they're trying to trick people into acting seditiously so that they can paint the people who resist as terrorists.
Gotcha, bitch!
And to be perfectly honest, I think that's why they're talking about making Antifa a terrorist organization, because they know when they try to bring this out everywhere, people are going to resist. And they want to be able to use terrorism laws against people who don't want their children to be slaves for eternity, and who are smart enough to see that that's where this leads. Now, that being said, we outnumber these people like 1,000,000 to 1. Even if the people in the UK are unarmed, they hold the power. The only way you can achieve that is by psyoping people. It doesn't matter if you don't have guns in the UK. You outnumber these people significantly. I'm going to put a clip from The Bug's Life in here, because this is something that you should have understood as a child.
There was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant. Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one?
Are you kidding?
Well, how about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
We outnumber these people. There's no way they can do this to us unless they mind fuck us into accepting it. There's no fucking way they can do this to us if we all say no. And we massively outnumber them. It would be so easy to resist this. So that's what has to happen. It has to happen. Your children will be slaves to these people for eternity. They will lose all freedom to choose anything for themselves. You will eat what they tell you to eat if you accept this. You'll eat like a dog, too, because they have no respect for you. They treat you like human cattle. They regard us as human livestock. They think they're human farmers farming humans for their taxes. That's how our world works.
You're going in the front? Yeah, man, but no way, man. My place is here, all right?
Here, making this crap? Why?
Oh.
You can't draw this.
Okay. Man. All this time we've been eating this shit. Hey, I eat them too, you know. Every single day.
And they know that there's too many of us who know that now. So they're trying to put these measures in place to stop that. Now, that's like I said from the very beginning. They know this is going to piss people off and set people off. And you have to think before you act. Because, you know what? These people, they operate through our consent. Everything that they do to us, they do through our consent. And it's only through mind fucking us that they can do that. Now, I'm somewhat of a conspiracy theorist. I enjoy conspiracy talk, and it's intellectually stimulating sometimes to discuss wild ideas. There's another document that I want to bring up. It's not a document, it's a slideshow that was posted on the London Telegraph website back in 2012 called Operation Blackjack. Now, I'm bringing that up because it's relevant to this conversation, because what this slideshow depicts is nuclear bombs going off in London, England, Toronto, Canada, New York, Portland, I think LA, and a couple other US cities. I think Mexico City as well. Now, just as a general thought exercise, this is a particularly interesting slideshow. For one, because there's coded messages in this slideshow. There's like a hexadecimal ID card, or there's a digital ID card is essentially what they roll out after this terrorist attack. And one of those digital ID cards has a hexadecimal code hidden in it that says, if you decipher it into English, this is not merely entertainment. And I was actually part of a group of people who were trying to find all these hidden codes in that, like, 13 years ago. And it kind of led to this website that was itself another puzzle, full of codes and puzzles, and that one went way over my head. To be perfectly honest, almost all of it did. But as part of the group of people who was looking at that, it was brought to my attention that there's all these codes, and I was able to find this other website. And it kind of seemed like a weird thing to get put up on the London Telegraph website. I believe it's still there. I'm going to say that these people know that there's a lot of resistance that's going to happen to this. They probably have a plan to trick us into accepting it. Now, do you think if there was a major attack like that, where nuclear bombs went off in several Western cities all on the same day, that they would say, oh, now we need to make sure everyone's not a terrorist? That's the level that we're playing with. Like, these are the type of people, they would do something like that. And to be perfectly honest, in that slideshow, one of the bombs doesn't detonate. They end up finding it later on, analyzing it, and determining that it was sourced from the US, that the US was the only, like, they do the radioisotope or whatever, they find the type of enriched material that was used, and they can track that to its source, and they end up saying that, oh, it belonged to the US government. But there's a lot of theories out there that, like, the Israeli government stole some nuclear material from the US. Now, I wonder. I'm just saying, like, connect the dots on that. There's a lot of interesting things that could be extrapolated from that idea. Especially when you see how, who's pulling the strings of the United States right now. If they ever stopped being able to pull those strings, well, I mean, have you ever heard of the Samson option? Connect the dots, right? So, I have said all of that as a precursor to say this. They want us to fear digital ID entirely as well. Because digital ID is a double-edged sword. We could use it to slit our own throats, or we could use it to free ourselves. And really, what he's offering you in this digital ID is a sword to slit your own throat. And they're asking you to take that and slit your own throat with it, because that's what you're doing. You will live like a dog. You'll live like a robot. You'll live the way that they tell you to live. Everything that makes life beautiful and... honestly, like, they're going to try to take everything from us. They will have the ultimate tool to control you for the rest of your life, and your children will suffer under that if you accept this. If you love your kids, you have to say no to this. But at the same time, you have to recognize that in the instrument of our destruction lies the solution to our salvation. We're being massively exploited by these corporations and by our governments. And one of the big ways in which we're exploited is through data. I mean, a lot of us, we generate like tens of thousands of dollars, the average internet user, on behalf of these big tech companies who have tricked us into agreeing to their terms and conditions, which require us to give away all that data to them. And you know what? If we had digital ID systems that were made for us, by us, with our interests in mind, we can take back a lot of the power with that system. We can take back a lot of the power that we've wrongly given over to criminals in our government. And I mean, it's the totalitarian tiptoe, where over the course of many years now, we've given away far too much control to these people. And it's long overdue to take that power back. And people all really recognize that. I think everyone's somewhat aware of that. That's why there's going to be a lot of resistance to this. But they don't know what the solution is, and they definitely don't see the solution in the threat itself. But the threat itself offers a solution. If we had a digital ID system where you control your data, absolutely, there's no backdoor, and this is going to be very hard to do, and there will be a lot of effort to subvert any attempt to do this, but if you could control your data and make it so that only the data that you want is shared with other people in a way that's verifiably legit, like if you can actually, we need to actually verify, there can't be any element of trust in this. If there's any element of trust in it, it's going to be taken advantage of. So we need to create a trustless digital ID system that allows people to store and share their own data with complete control over it. So maybe you do want to share a credential with someone. You would have to go into your own wallet and control it yourself. That data gets shared with someone. And maybe assign a fee to sharing that data with other people. So if other people want to purchase your data, you set the price for it. That kind of thing. I mean, we're building a digital future for ourselves. It's going to be a nightmare, or it could be the greatest thing ever. And what they're offering you is to take the nightmare scenario where like your children and your children's children will be beholden to these political scumbags who view you like farm animals for eternity. There's not going to be any coming back from this if we accept it. So really, I would advise anyone to take appropriate measures to dissolve their government in a legal way. Because again, if you try to do things that are seditious or violent, they've got a plan for that. They're almost certainly trying to provoke you into doing that. You need to think twice. I cannot stress this enough. These people have thought this through, and they know exactly what they're doing. They have a very lengthy game plan in mind. And you know, to be perfectly honest, staging terrorist attacks to provoke people into accepting digital ID is probably where this is headed. You see these people that are obviously psyoping people like Laura Loomer, saying that they're anticipating there's going to be some massive attack. Get the fuck out of here. If you think Palantir, with the level of surveillance we live under, that's going to happen organically? That can only happen in the world we live in if they allow it to happen, which is what happened on October 7th. Read the fucking tea leaves. Like, look at the world around you. This is how we're being played. And we're being played by these people who operate think tanks and have had some of the smartest people in the world working for them in these think tanks, planning this out. You know, just game planning how each step of this progression would work and how people will react. They've really thought this through. And it's all going to come down to psyoping people, because the only way that you can make this happen is to psyop people. I mean, I'm going to make a follow-up video to this that has my thoughts a little bit more organized, but really after seeing that today, I had to get this off my chest. And especially so because I think That's really where this is heading, that they're going to stage some sort of event to scare people into accepting digital ID, because there's no way people are going to accept that just laying down.
Jack Posobiec, Gabe Hoffman, Mike Cernovich, Laura Loomer. Gabe Hoffman is running ops on people. He is a bad guy, dudes. I look like I've seen a ghost. Yeah, I have. And someone that was very close to me, I'm pretty sure they were just there to infiltrate me. These are really fucking bad people, and I'm beyond pissed. I don't even know how to describe the feeling inside of me. It's bad. It's bad, guys. These people are bad. They tried to set someone up that you know and love. They're fucking evil. These people are evil. These people are evil. They're unregistered foreign agents.
They're going to have to create some sort of major psyop as a pretext to forcing it on people. Because really, if they're telling you you need this to work, they're telling you to get down on your knees and serve them for the rest of eternity, and they're going to decide what clothes you wear, how many children you can have, if you can even have children. Like, this is going to turn into the worst dystopian nightmare ever if we accept this sort of system for ourselves. But if we take power back, if we really look at how we could use blockchain and digital ID that's made by us with our interests in mind and not totalitarian control measures, I mean, the choice is ours. We can choose a future that we'll be proud to hand down to our children, or we can condemn ourselves and our children to a life that we'll never be happy in.
And we can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings of money. A choice right now between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your door, buy guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see all of us as one.
And really, this is a bold thing to do. Like I said, we outnumber these people significantly. They have to have some sort of weird fucked up plan in mind to force this on people. And honestly, fear is how they get people to submit to everything. So how are they going to scare you into that? You know, that Operation Blackjack scenario doesn't sound so bizarre, but it is kind of bizarre that 13 years ago, when that was initially published on the London Telegraph website, that the solution offered to the threat was digital ID system. In that slideshow, it says you need to be a government approved journalist to put information out on the internet. So once people lose the ability to share information freely on the internet, well, it's a lot easier to psyop people when they can't hear alternative ideas. I don't know. I'm not saying I think these things are certainly going to happen, but they have to have some sort of plan to force this on people. And really, if you think like I think, if you see what I see, if you feel what I feel.
Fairness, justice, and freedom are more than words. They are perspectives. So if you've seen nothing, if the crimes of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest that you allow the 5th of November to pass unmarked. But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me 1 year from tonight, outside the gates of Parliament, and together we shall give them a 5th of November that shall never, ever be forgotten.
Our lives are not our own. From womb to tomb, we are bound to others. Past and present. And by each crime and every kindness, we birth our future.
Please like and share this video, because the follow-up to this video will be more organized. And I'll make a more convincing case for my argument here that really this is the hill we have to choose to stand on. Because if we accept this, it's pretty much endgame. You'll never recover from this, and our children will hate us for eternity for condemning them to that fate. It's going to be a nightmare where you'll have no control and no ability to fight back ever. So, I mean, the time is now.
Soon, Crassus will give command, and we shall face his legions in open battle. We stand in the shadow of greater might, as their republic casts across the lives of every man, every woman, and every child condemned to the darkness of slavery. Forced to toil and suffer so that those of coin and position can see their fortunes grow beyond need or purpose. Let us teach them that all who draw breath are of equal worth, and that those that seek to place heel upon the throat of liberty will fall to the cry of freedom!